Hi, my name's Roy Michael. This is my 2004 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I'm here to tell you about how I got a real good increase in gas mileage and power for a little under 500 bucks. Now this is a 2004. It's got the 4-liter engine. My consideration, probably the best 4-liter 6-cylinder ever made. But one thing you got to think about, no one ever bought a Jeep for the gas mileage. Are we right? So I really looked into a bunch of different things, and I came up with 3 major changes that really made a big difference. And the total parts bill on it was less than $500. Believe me, there was a lot of wrench cranking, but that's part of owning a Jeep. First thing I looked at was fuel injectors. The fuel injectors on this looked like they were original, about 20 years old. I looked at a couple of videos on how to replace them, and it didn't look that bad. So I started looking at fuel injectors, and I kept coming up with these 4-hole fuel injectors. Now, the 1-hole fuel injector is what's standard in most vehicles, and the 4 holes, what they were saying was that with 4 holes, it'll atomize the gasoline so that when the gasoline enters the combustion chamber, it's going to be spread through more evenly. And well, that kind of made sense to me. And since they were pretty much the same price, I bought them. Next thing I wanted to do was look at the power going to the spark plugs that's going to go into the spark inside the combustion chamber. Now, when I first bought this thing, it seemed a little weak offline, and it wasn't breaking any records on the highway. So, I wanted power and I wanted gas mileage. And, you never get what you ask for. Man plans, God laughs, right? So I found this one cable and coil that's a one-piece. So you pull off the one that's like right across there. It's got 4 modules on it. And you pull that out, you mount this, it mounts up very easily, comes with brand new plug wires, and it's supposed to give you a hotter spark, and that was kind of what I was looking for. It also said to replace the plugs with double platinum plugs. The idea of double platinum is both ends of the plug where the spark jumps from one to the other are platinum, and platinum is supposed to be by far the best conductor you're going to find for electricity. So I thought that's great. So then I started thinking about the battery cables. The battery cables, some of these are probably original. That's 20 years of grease and grime. And then I looked them up, and you know what? There's 7 of them on this thing. I never would have thought 7, 4 maybe, but 7. I looked at a video, and you got to figure how many years of grease, grime, rust, and just plain old crap on 14 different connections. And these are probably the 14 most important connections that you've got when it comes to getting power and electricity to your engine. And I looked at the video, and it showed a real easy way to do it. The toughest part was down here. You actually got to cut a piece out down here and run it underneath. But the video was real clear on how you do it. And so that's what I did. So I put it all in. Immediately felt an increase in off-the-line power because this thing was a little bit slow. And I watched my gas mileage for a few weeks, and it had gone from 13.5 to about 15. And I was real happy with that, but that's, 1.5 miles per gallon, better than nothing, right? But I did get a little bit of increase in power, so I was happy with that. So a couple of weeks later, my wife and I decided to make a run up to Vegas, hang around in Vegas for a few days, and then head up north to Beatty, Nevada, which is a straight run up State 95. Then we were going to cut west and go down through Death Valley, and then all the way back down here back to Southern California. So we made the run, spent a few days just cruising around Vegas, a lot of city driving there, and then headed out on Interstate 95 north. About 15 miles out of Vegas, I've got the cruise control set on 74 because the speed limit's 70. And we're cruising up, and up in front of me in the right lane is an SUV that, doing about 65. And I'm thinking, well, let's go past it. Put on my turn signal, look behind me. It was all nice and clear. There's rarely any traffic up there. And floored it. And I tell you what, it gave me that throw you in the back seat feeling. Really surprised me. So needless to say, over the next 40 or 50 miles on the way to Beatty, I tested it again. And each time it just, really ran well. Just pulled me in the back seat. So I was real happy with that. So when we got home after, tooling around Death Valley, I filled it up with gas, did all my calculations, and my total gas mileage on that entire run, including just a lot of tooling around, was 22.5 miles per gallon. Combination of the 22.5 miles a gallon, the 15 on city, and all the extra power, I think it's well worth the $500 investment. So guys, check this out. If you got friends that own 4.0s, forward this off to them, and they'll see what a difference that makes. So this truck's got a pretty interesting story. It was one owner for about 19.5 years, and it looks like it was just a grocery getter that sat in the garage, because you can see how clean it is. The interior on this thing is just absolutely perfect. No marks, no nothing. The only thing wrong in the interior is the headliner, as you can see. So I looked up how much a headliner was. $1,300. Guess what? I decided I could spend $1,300, or I could just not look up when I'm driving. I chose the don't look up. But this thing came really well equipped. Windows locks, tilt cruise, no sunroof. I'm 6'2". I don't really care for a sunroof. And just pretty much, and the killer stereo that comes with all Jeeps. Couldn't be happier. Now, the guy that owned it woke up one morning, came out, went to start it up, and vroom, 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 someone had stolen his catalytic converters. So he priced the catalytic converters out, and they're about $3,000. And he decided, well, that ain't going to work, because this truck really, in good shape, worth a little bit more than $3,000, but you're not going to want to put $3,000 in it, So his best buddy was the general manager of a fleet servicing company. They worked on all the trucks that are out running around town. And he sold it to him for $100. And his buddy was going to use it to carry auto parts around. So he took it to his shop and told him, go from stem to stern, fix whatever needs fixing, and we'll be good. Man, they went through it completely. They changed every fluid, changed every filter, new disc pads all the way around, new rotors on the front. I looked up underneath, and it's got a couple of new parts under the front end, and a brand new set of catalytic converters and brand new exhaust all the way out to the end. Real happy with that. It's in perfect shape. So I saw it on Craigslist when the guy who had it for 6 months was selling it, because the problem was it wasn't long enough to fit a full exhaust system in there for a truck if he was, because that was what he did. He drove around and picked up the parts and all that kind of stuff. So he put it on Craigslist, and he added up what he spent on it, and he wanted $5,400. Well, this is a two-wheel drive, and no matter how clean it is, on a 2004, it's not worth $5,400. So I saw it like the first day, because I was ready to buy a four-wheel. I sold my XJ, and I was ready to buy another Grand Cherokee. The 2004 around that year was what I wanted. And I saw it in there, but I saw it for $5,400. I said, man, it's beautiful, but I ain't paying $5,400 for it. So I checked again a couple days later, and it was still there. And a few days later, still there. And I wasn't getting anywhere in trying to find a clean four-wheel drive. They were all just way too beat up. So I clicked on his again and looked at it and looked at all the equipment. And it was 4.0, and it's what I wanted. It was clean. So I gave him a call. And on Craigslist, it'll tell you how long that ad's been running. That ad had been running for 17 days. So I called him, he answered the phone, and the first thing he said was, you're the first one that's called on this. Now, being an old horse trader, I thought, well, this guy might be willing to negotiate. I paid $2,800 for this truck, and I could not be happier. It's the smoothest, quietest 4.0 I've ever had. And it just runs fine, and with the $500 I put in it, plus a lot of cranking, I could not be happier. Now, this Freedom Edition surprised me. You see how it's a little raised in the back here? Well, the Freedom Edition gives you the town and country suspension, which gives you those heavy-duty gas shocks, front and rear. And I think they're fairly new, because they weren't that dirty at all. And it rides great. The only thing I found out that was way later was I've had 7 Jeeps. I love a Detroit locker rear. But I wasn't getting the chirp on the little turns, you know what I'm talking about? So I checked it, and guess what? It's got a single track rear on it. Now, I still want to take this out in the Mojave and the Sonoran. So I bought what they call a lunchbox rear differential kit, which turns it into basically a Detroit locker. That was more than I wanted to spend, but I wanted to take it out. So we put that in. On the way home, I heard the chirp, so I was feeling happy. And then took it out into the desert, took it up a road that's got a lot of up and down and up and down, and tested it out. Absolutely perfect. Now, I've had 7 Jeeps, all of them 4-wheel drive. And I started, I was thinking about, when was the last time I actually used the 4-wheel drive? That was probably the first 2 or 3, because I was just as crazy as everybody else out in the desert running up and down things. But with the 2-wheel drive on it, it handled that road. If it handled that road, I don't drive on anything worse than that. So that's the story on this thing. And it was a Freedom Edition, which I really didn't know about. I love the interior. It's got the Jeep insignias and everything on it. And hopefully, this is my last Jeep. But I think I said that about the last 2 or 3 of them. So anyway, if you know anybody who's looking to get a 4.0, do these kind of modifications on it, and it'll run like a top for you. Y'all have a great day.